And the big framework that I want to embrace is some men see things the way that they are and ask why. And I dream of things that never were and ask why not. So, talking about where this conversation I'm hoping to take today is going over Assignor Magic ground rules, magical match audiences, selecting magician referees, the next show on tour, and some questions and answer time. So, talking about the Assigner ground rules, I need to confess that I've never been a magician, but I am an experienced assigner. But the bottom line is that even if we're not magicians, the magicians aren't supposed to tell how the magic tricks are done. The good news is because I'm not a real magician, I can blab as much as I would like, explain how I do assignments, but that doesn't mean that's necessarily how your local assigner works, and it would be rude for me to pull back someone else's curtain. Why does this matter? Because the central part of the question that I want to answer tonight is what many referees ask: why am I the center instead of the AR2? Or sometimes, why am I the AR instead of the center referee? And if we think about it in terms of audiences, every time a referee is assigned, either as single or as a part of a crew, we're looking at different audiences who are going to react to that presentation. The league or the tournament who's selected the assigner and entrusted their judgment to make the decision. And they're expecting whether or not the officials have the experience to manage the players, have the ability and the confidence to make the correct calls. Will they be credible to people who are on the field to accept calls and non calls alike? And whether or not these officials are detail oriented to execute the pre match and post match responsibilities and be professional. But that's different than the actual players, coaches, and spectators who attend the match, because they're not the ones who are the immediate payroll sources. They're going to ask, do these officials protect our safety? Do they trust these officials to protect the fairness of the match? And do they expect that the officials will have both the courage and the humility to let the players' skill do the talking and not try to make themselves the star? Implicitly, the referees who are assigned to the match as part of your crew are also part of the same stakeholders. They're looking at these other people who are on the crew they may or may not have worked with before and saying, did this person prepare correctly for this match? Do they know the rules? Do they know the possible tendencies of the teams that are involved and the players? And can they fulfill the demands of their respective roles? Or are they going to be wool gathering and saying, I should be the AR and not the center for this match, or vice versa? Do your colleagues trust you to act professionally and honorably without favoritism, especially if you make a call in the middle of the field and AR is sitting there on the technical area listening to the coach in their ear about, oh my God, what are they doing? And you not being on comms, not having perfect information to answer that question. And are the right crew members paired to support each other? And the final implicit requirement of audiences that we're talking about aren't even at the field. They're the ones who come to the next match, or if we're going to keep this magic analogy going, the next show on the tour, because those same players from one of those teams are going to be in that stadium the next time, and their expectations are going to be adjusted based on the performance of what you do tonight on Monday. Oh my God, did you know what our last referee did? Oh my God, our last referee was incredible. Are you going to be as good? And so all this goes a long way of showing is that a lot of people are invested in your individual success and also responsible for whether or not you're able to do the work that we're asking you to do. It is no easy thing to select magician referees, but we're going to stay with this magic parameter for a second. Think about your magic shows. It is very, very sensitive and audience specific as to which magician is right for that audience in that show. Penn and Teller aren't going to be the ones going to the neighborhood kid's 6th birthday celebration and making balloon animals, or so we hope. And by the same token, your neighborhood teenage magician isn't going to be rolling from that birthday party and next going to Las Vegas to hold a show that is televised and streamed on the web. So, from our soccer framework, though, in each match, barring injury, there's only one center referee for each match. And that holds true whether or not the match is recreational, high school, or even the World Cup. But not every referee can be the center for every match. It doesn't diminish the official to serve as an AR. And again, not every referee can be the AR for every match. It doesn't diminish that official to serve as a center. Oh, look, here's my friend Megan Mullen, who is a USA FIFA AR and also a pro referee with massive MLS experience. She doesn't run centers anymore. She's not interested in them. They're not getting her anywhere because she's busy with international matches. This is my friend Corey Parker, who is at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, dealing with the Argentinians losing their mind, and similarly does not do center referees anymore. How many of you would trade your assignments for his being on that world stage if you were told the only thing that you could do is being an AR?
Raising their hands. Some of them.
That's fine. It's all good. And I'm going to bring it home and just talk about Jackson Krauser, who is the person you should hold locally responsible for me if this presentation isn't what you're expecting. And I want to talk about this USSF national referee and saying how I assigned him earlier this winter. There's the assignment. That's all the information that I'm going to give you right now. Jackson has been assigned as AR1. Show of hands in the room. Did I get this assignment correct? Did I make a mess? And my ego does not depend on whether or not you all agree with me. I'm just asking in general. Good assignment, bad assignment, Jesse?
What do you think, Brian?
Well, I've had Jackson run lines for me, and I've run lines for Jackson. I mean, he's perfectly capable of doing that level of game as an AR1 or in the middle of that. But AR1 is, I'd have no problem with that.
Right, but he's not the center for this match. Is that a mistake?
When I'm talking with younger referees, because and maybe on my college experience as well, I get a lot of AR, so you might as well get good at it. And then if you get centers or that becomes your thing, you're still going to be good as an AR. So when you get that call, the assigners know that this referee is a solid AR, and if the assigner is maybe developing a new person in the middle that might need a more experienced person on the lines to help them out, and there's all those kind of questions. So
right, but you don't know anything else about this referee crew other than those three names. And if you're in that stakeholder audience of the league or of the teams, and you're told that the referees tonight are Akash Fuel, Jackson Krauser, and Ben Meyer, are they going to do a good job for you? The only honest answer is I don't know, because you don't know the officials, and it's not for their first time. Those folks are going to see them, and their expectations are going to be based on what they know. But there's also a heck of a lot of information you don't know. There are unknowns. So I'm going to release some more information to you. So our center is 17 years old. He's a USSF grassroots referee, and he's running the center with a national AR1. Ben Meyer, 19 years old, grassroots referee. He's AR2. Did I get this assignment right? Come on, second guess me. You're referees.
I don't think so. No.
Well, it's the second or third game, I'm sure.
it's
Yeah, that's it.
it makes you knowing all those people, it makes you wonder why a 17-year-old kid is in the middle for a 19-year-old boys match.
That's a great question. And so the answer to that question is maybe the assigner's got something up his sleeve, and he knows something that the other referee crew members don't know. In my case, I can tell you that Akash is already been to regionals and is on the short list to go to national championships this year. And the reason he is in that position is because he's previously demonstrated his ability to handle that skill of team and that speed of play. And working with Jackson and with Ben is going to help him get better as a center as well as be incredible to that audience. All right, so I've dribbled some more information out to you. Did I get it right? Come on, challenge me.
Kevin, what,
Yeah, I think so with that information. Sounds like a good team.
Sure. But the bottom line and the impression that I'm trying to leave you with is there's a lot of uncertainty there. And nobody is really going to know if we got this right until after the match is over. So I am putting my reputation as an assigner on the table anytime I send out a crew, and I'm gambling that I got it right. Now, being somewhat cautious, I don't like to gamble with other people. And so I spend an awful lot of time doing research and gathering information from other assigners because I try to get it right. And I would imagine that every assigner in Kentucky has the same level of diligence and interest in getting it right. Because remember, the audience is not just the referees and the players on that field, it's the crew that has to come next. And they're the ones that are going to face those changed expectations for the next match that where a referee crew enters that stadium. How did I get from having a gigantic list of names to that individual match assignment that I just showed you? Here are 30 factors that I consider each and every assignment that I do. Now, some of them may not necessarily have the same weight as the others. In fact, I can tell you that they don't. But these are just some of the things that I'm thinking about when I'm making match assignments as an assigner. I'm going to just pause and let everyone look at this bingo chart and ask if there's anything up here that you don't understand you want me to elaborate about. Everything is self-evident? Cool. Well, I'm going to just pull one out anyway. The size of league and match scarcity.
Jesse, we have a question.
Oh, please ask away.
Upper left-hand corner, experience of the referee.
Yep.
In the previous match that you had up there, Jackson obviously had more experience, I think, at his age level and his professional level than the other two.
Yep.
Why would he move the center outside of the fact that maybe you want to give this kid a leg up because you have confidence in him and he's, like you said, on a short list of moving up, moving on.
Absolutely true.
But yet you have someone like Jackson with a national designation who has been there and done that at that level or above, I guess. Why would you not put him?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. So let's look at the bottom left corner. Referee development.
Okay.
So I'm going to get an awful lot of mileage out of having Jackson be in a position to, in real time, give feedback to the other people on the crew and saying, this is what I'm seeing. Are you seeing it the same way? What information do you need from me? Do we need to tighten it up? Do we need to adjust it? Beyond that, and it's really not on here. Well, actually, it is still here, referee development. What's not on that assignment is a vital member of the audience for that match. There was a USSF national referee coach who was watching that crew. And any of you who've been in an assessment know they're not there to just look at one person, they're looking at the whole crew. And they're evaluating not just the center referee, but it's whether or not Jackson's contributions as the AR are what it needs to be in terms of assisting the referee, assisting the match, and are they in a position to continue to bring others with them along that journey of superior referee performance? And so that wasn't even on the match assignment, but I coordinated and made sure that we had somebody like our USSF national referee coach in there to make Jackson's trip to Virginia worth his time and money. Does that help?
I understand.
Jesse's even more sneaky than usual.
Well, Jesse, can you tell us what the other two games were that Jackson was assigned to that day?
Oh, I made him
Okay,
run a
well-
center.
Yeah, but you probably had him run center before you had him on the line in that game, correct?
No, sir. First game of the day, he was the AR
First game of the day? 12
Yeah. at 12. And then I made him run a center later. And then I made him run
I
a
thought it was
flag after that.
First game of the day.
That would have been my guess.
I thought
Yeah,
it was,
so
'cause it was really,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think it was. He assigns a lot of games, so.
But that's the thing, is that I'm one of those assigners who doesn't believe in running referees into the ground. And so we brought enough referees in and gave them the same sort of marketing for opportunity that I've just shown you when I'm pulling back my curtain and showing you my magic trick and saying you're going to have the opportunity to work with referees of a certain caliber. You're going to be getting feedback of a certain level. And I still owe Jackson, because they still owe me, the video of their performance at that field.
So what star coach factors have to do with?
Really? Coach factors? If I've got somebody who is very voluble and has a lot to say, and who's constantly beating his or her chest and saying, "Do you know who I am?" And I've got an AR on that field who could say, "Why, yes, coach, you told me your first name. We're going to have a great match together." I need somebody who has the wherewithal, who can deal with that coach and not let themselves be browbeaten by somebody into shading more calls in their direction than they've earned in that match. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's going on. If I know somebody who is spectacularly profane, and I don't want to pair them with someone who is very, very buttoned up, because that's just going to go like oil and water. Or if I know that I need that referee on that match as the AR, I'm going to go put him on this AR2. So that way, oil and water don't necessarily have to get in each other's way. And maybe the other AR on that crew is better suited to keeping that coach in the game and focused on his players, instead of taking his player frustration out on the convenient people who are wearing those different colored jerseys. Good? All right, I'm going to do the size of league and match scarcity just for the heck of it, because I think it's kind of interesting. So in a given environment, there may be one league that has 8 divisions and they're playing 50 games a weekend. And all those games are suitable for assessment. On the other hand, another league, maybe it's 2 divisions, they play 5 games a weekend, and everyone who's interested in referee development is clawing and scratching for opportunities to jump into those positions so they can use them for their match count and or possibly an assessment. And so I can't afford to keep sending the same 3 officials out to the top division of those matches, because they're going to get tired of each other. And we want to make sure that every team feels like they're getting a fair shake from the referee crew.
Even if it's 3 officials that know each other, have been repping for some time, and they've worked as a crew before.
Well, I'm not going to punish them for being friends.
No, not necessarily friends, but they work good as a crew.
Right, but if remember, I'm only, let's say in this hypothetical example, we're not talking about fourth official, it's just center AR1, AR2. They may work well, but I may be wanting to pull up one of my up and comers to go learn by working in those matches, and have two of those people pull off to go be AR for my up and comer on a different match, and then throw a different challenge at that center by working with other ARs so they can keep learning from each other. I mean, the one thing about US soccer is we are not optimized in teaching. Everything is experiential learning. We learn by doing, and sometimes the people who we're working with are willing and able to speak from experience and give feedback, and the other times the other people on the crew be like, yeah, you're doing fine, and you may as well have not just gotten anything referee feedback wise to work with for improvement and evolution of your capabilities. So again, it's not just that one match, there's a bigger picture that I've been entrusted to keep in mind, and I may not always get it right, but I'm going to do my best to try. And that speaks to this next point, which is the risks, because the assignments don't occur in a vacuum. My reputation as the assigner is heavily marketed to the league or tournament that I'm working with, saying, I know that these people will do a good job. If there's an issue, it's probably the team's fault. Or I don't have the wherewithal to have that sort of confidence, and maybe I'm taking some less experienced referees and putting them on a lower challenge match because that's the right fit for the game that they're doing. But it's not just my reputation as the assigner, the referee group's reputation is on the line too. How many times have you as coaches said, well, the referees for this league, they are all terrible. Oh my God, we've got the best referees. Every single perception of the overall referee group, their ambassadors are the crew on that match. And so the expectations that they carry behind them, we're only as good as our last performance. And the individual referee's reputation is on the line too. Was he or she sufficient to that match? Oh my God, Jesse, you're going to have me work with this person who just stumbled out of Virginia to come work a game in Kentucky when we know that he doesn't speak like he's from Kentucky, and everybody's going to think of him less favorably. Or the teams, you've got teams that are migrating between leagues, and they're asking the teams that they know in that league, how good are your referees? And depending on who they ask, they may get an intelligent answer or one saying, well, all the officials suck anyway, so what are you going to do about it? And so if I put it thought and invest time and effort in considering these things, hopefully I'll get it better and I'll make the risks lower. But the bigger point here is that there's so many unknowns with this. All I can do is try to limit my risk by making good decisions. Now, this is the seedy side of things, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do because it's one of my pet peeves. I actually spent half of a chapter in the book that Jackson referenced talking about it. And shopping is awful. And what shopping means is that you have an accepted assignment from one assigner. You're like, nah, I'm going to just go take a better assignment. Somebody's going to be paying me more. My buddies are going to be on the field with me, and let's just kind of go hang out. And too bad for the assigner. Maybe it's more convenient geographically. And I'm just going to say, don't do that. And the reason is do you really want me to go shop you after you've committed to a specific match and saying, oh, well, all right, well, I could leave you on the crew, or wait a minute, my friend Drew, who's a FIFA AR, he's between MLS assignments. I'm just going to go ahead and bounce this year out of this crew because my friend Drew wants to do the game. Not fair, is it? and it's unethical. So when I make an assignment, if you've accepted the assignment, it's yours to take and perform and do your best. And maybe that's not necessarily an assignment that you want, but if you say, okay, Jesse, that maniacal assigner over there in Virginia, thinks that this is the right one for me. Maybe if there really is a mismatch in what I'm trying to get out of being in this field and what's going to happen performance wise, hey, can we change this for next time? And I'll be better prepared and better capable of listening and responding to that than a situation where all of a sudden the assignments are coming back. And all of a sudden, all that thinking, all that time that I've already invested in those assignments is wasted because you're suddenly not available. And for those of you who don't know, this is a picture of Akash with Carlos and Nikrod. Akash is the one on the left. Carlos is the very, very short official in the middle. And the one on the right is Nikrod Fata, who is now a national referee, who I found working on a crew when he was 14 years old. And today he's a national referee. And I can guarantee you that in this specific match environment, each of them learned from each other. Each of them enjoyed being colleagues, and they built a relationship that continues to this day. Is perfection possible? No. I'm always asking, how good was it? But is the match assignment correct? Can I defend it to somebody saying, why are those three names paired together? Yeah, I can. And the unpleasant side of this is that there's always an everlasting question of, will the next show on the tour be canceled? Does the person who, after the game is over, did the referee and the ARs each perform to the best of their abilities, or did we find that the speed or pace or skill of the game was beyond their capabilities to manage? Okay, well, the next time we're looking at those assignment factors, I'm going to go factor that into past performance. If there's a really horrible performance, all of a sudden the assigner is going to get a telephone call, or the referee group leader is going to get a call and say, we're going to go find a different referee assigner who can find better referees who can cover our games. So these are not small stakes. They are real and they are powerful. By Akash, by Carlos, by Nikrod. And with that, I'm going to just take whatever questions that you may have, or just I can continue talking on any topic you'd like. Thanks very much.
So an interesting question is, you talked a lot about assigning talented referees to high-level matches. What happens on your ordinary given weekend where there's lots and lots of games and a small pool or a smaller than you want pool of referees, and you're just trying to put bodies on matches? Does that change the thinking, or do you still have to try and figure out which available bodies go with certain match levels?
Well, the shorthand answer is absolutely. The detail behind it, though, is the reason why development is a priority for me, because I'm not looking at one match in a vacuum. I'm looking at the overall season. And so if I am constantly looking at development as a priority, even if I'm not the only assigner in the area, we're building that referee pool so that way we're not all, oh my God, running for cover when said referee is now an expecting parent on the way and they're not available to do that game. Well, we're not going to cancel the soccer game because that official is gone. We're going to figure out the next best assignment and get that sorted out. There are times, and hopefully I'm getting to the question that you're asking, where I can't get to accommodating all 30 of those factors. We're going to do the best that we can. And where there's an issue on the match, or even if there isn't, I want to plant the seed in their mind of saying, what can we do better? What can we learn from? And if somebody has some feedback on for me about whether or not the assignment was good, I want to hear it. But that's the other piece of that too, right? Is that I have to be able to ask a question and understand that the answer that I get back to that question may not be the one that I want to hear, but I need to listen to it no matter what. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And just putting it in a different way. Our group gets, we have 3 or 4 assigners. One does the bulk of the games in the area, and we'll have emails. I have these games available this week. Are you, and it's almost, the referee can select the days that he or she is available and almost the fields that he or she wants to work. If they're, and then after a while, you know what clubs are playing at which field. So if you want to work a certain club, you say, I'm available for these fields and not those fields. So is it more of the referees picking their games or the assigner picking the games in that type of a situation?
Well, I will tell you, if you've ever heard of self-assignment, which I believe is really what you're asking about, is the referees picking their games and the assigner just being a robot and just saying, "Oh, sure, you can have all the centers in the games that day." I don't do it, and I don't really. I don't think that's assigning. I think that that's basically data entry. But I'm not, especially in my area. There are 3 other assigners who are self-assigning, and they just tell the referees, "You just pick whatever game you want. I'll sort it out later." And I think that I want to make sure that there's a balance. I want to make sure that you're going to not go out to a game and feel like you're suffering through it. I want to make that match appealing to you as the official, but also satisfying the criteria that I have, which is, will this work as the right assignment for that match? And I like to market myself as being open for dialogue. So that way nobody feels like they're being excessively punished or any issues of jealousy showing up, because that's not productive either, right? The relationship will go south. And that referee will be like, well, Jesse doesn't give me any decent assignments, so I'm going out. I'm going to go find an assigner who will. But if we have a relationship we're building where it's not just a one-off of McDonald's walking in saying, give me 3 Big Macs, and the same person's never going to be back in the restaurant again, it doesn't suit me, and it probably shouldn't suit the referee unless the referee doesn't care. And that's a lost opportunity as far as I can tell. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is to have a dialogue. Tell the assigner what it is that you want. Do you want to have the most challenging match that I can come up with as the assigner so that you have room to grow? Or, hi, my kid is borrowing the car tonight, so all I can really do is stay within 5 miles of the house, or where we can arrange a carpool of getting to the field. Is that all about soccer? No. But then I'm not sitting here paying people $150,000 a year to be referees. So I have to work in those other factors and account for them. So that way they feel like that assignment is the right one for them. Better?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Come on, more questions. Make me work for it.
I think, I don't see any hands up, Jesse.
Okay.
I think they're pretty satisfied.
We got one in the back.
Got one in the back.
Hey Jeffy, I'm Victor. How far ahead do you assign games? What time frame?
I'm weird. I don't do more than 3 weeks out. And when I say that 3 weeks out, that means that at 3 weeks out, I am telling referees, this is a schedule of games that I am looking at. Who is available? What games do you want? And then I give it a week to give people who are in different circumstances chances to get their information to me. And then hopefully I'm rolling out those assignments with 7 to 10 days advance notice. So that way, if somebody's got an issue that comes up, I can adjust to it. If I'm shrinking the window, I've got a smaller reaction time and smaller set of tools, the things that I could do to fix a problem. And outside of 3 weeks, it's not productive for me because people's life gets in the way. Somebody has a work issue, they have to go out of town for work or some sort of unexpected family commitment that they didn't know about that they had, or my personal favorite, a number of years ago, there was this 15-year-old who wanted games and he didn't bother looking at the field that he was at. And I said, sure, you can have this assignment. It's a good one for you age-wise. And then about 48 hours before kickoff, I got a nasty gram from the parent of that referee who said, well, I'm sure that so-and-so will be doing a good job on the match, but his bike isn't really suited to go up on the interstate, and we live 65 miles away from the field. So that was an assignment failure because the referee didn't understand where the games were. He just liked the fact that I was paying cash in that match. And I didn't understand that this referee hadn't checked in with mom and dad to figure out if he could go on the interstate highway 50 miles away from their house to go do the match. So, lesson learned. But I'm also going to be a little bit more cautious the next time when the same referee comes back and he says, I'd like this other match, please. I'm going to be like, the first question is that's nice. Have you checked with mom and dad to figure out how you're getting there? Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea. You think? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, thank you.
I mean, there are some, I know that the high school assigners in my area, they publish the first 7 and 8 weeks of the season, and all those assignments are locked in. So no matter what happens on your first match, everything is already cooked in. For me, I can't do that because people's lives change. And also, what happens when I find somebody who is a star in the making? I need to have room for that person to take on new challenges. Or if I have somebody who forgot to tell me that they are dealing with surgery and the recovery is not going the way that they hope, so maybe they don't need the top varsity district match. And so because of that, I have to adjust to the circumstances. And again, because I'm farther into the season, I have fewer tools to fix the problem. Because in order for me to cover that, maybe I have to ask somebody else if they'd mind swapping that night and rotating other people in. So I also, because I'm not assigning MLS, I don't have an audience of national referees who are all desperate to get on those crews. And so they're not going to drop everything to go take my precedence match. Whereas, MLS talking to Howard Webb, maybe like, I would like those 3 people. And they'll be like, yes, sir, absolutely, we'll go. So, and this is something where you want to ask how the assignment works. You're going to get one answer from me. You might get a different answer from another assigner. I'm crazy. I am upfront and I admit it.
Jesse, I think we're out of time here. We got some business to attend to. But I can give them your email and they can send you any more questions they might have, but if that works for you.
Yep, on screen.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to the meeting and presenting for us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish you guys well. And if you want to come to the DC area for games, let me know. We'll work something out.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Take care, all.
Should I just close this thing?
I think